Hey, welcome back to the third of three videos on the specific tactics, techniques, approaches, implementations, and how to be successful in your performances. Let's review a little bit. In volume 217, we talked about the perspectives, the frameworks of success or winning, how important it is to develop your own. And these are accumulation of experiences, learning from failures, and then learning your own and the formula of success. That's our overall goal. Then in volume 218, we talked about the first of the techniques, starting out with being aware of the winner's body and tuning into the messages your body says. Last one we talked about in volume 219 about some specifics, especially that performing artist told us about that we can apply. Again, same rules apply for this third and final video of the three parts of the techniques and tactics of winning. Watch this, watch it repeatedly, and then take one keeper from this that you can want to apply and to integrate, doing it for a couple of weeks in your rehearsals and then early performances. So you're seeing from these four videos in this series of how to win, how to succeed, it takes time to implement these things. And so give yourself the time. Part of that is intuition of trusting yourself you're on the right path of doing this and integrating this. Okay? We're going to start off with, in this final series, about the big performances, how to prepare, how to approach it, how to handle the adversity of the big performances. This was said best by a student in 2016 that gave us this analogy. He said, competing in big performances is akin to tractor pull contests. Have you ever seen those where they're pulling a sled behind them and these are all hopped up tractors, and to see how far they can pull it, and with each of the counterweight in the sled goes closer and closer, making it tougher and tougher to pull. He said this: in these events, the farther down the course the tractor pulls the sled, the farther forward the counterweight goes, thus making it even more difficult. Like this event, finishing off any big performance becomes progressively harder. Be ready for it. If it's a competition, your opponents, if you're on top, know that their backs are to the wall, that they cannot afford making mistakes or loose plays anymore. So they become better. They become even more worthy. You have to understand going into that closing it out, having end games, implementing it, it becomes tougher and tougher. Some of that is that you only have to be succeeding in that a couple times to learn from those experiences. Here's one thing they said that we've mentioned throughout this. Nerves are good. Pre and early performance nerves are ways of telling you that your body and mind and spirit and emotions are ready for combining and producing a significant effort. Again, your goal is not to rid yourself of the nerves, but to use that energy to channel those into better performances. Along with that, realize that pressure you feel, your opponents also feel. They are human as well. In this volume of it, I had other athletes and other performing artists say other things about how they approach their big performances. They said, before the big performance, and this is more than a superstition, before the big performance, write down all the possible bad things that could happen to you during this performance. Do it in great detail. They say even writing it out on one page of paper, or if there's many of them, each on a separate little sheet of paper. Then when you've written down all those possible bad things that could happen, then crumple them all up and throw them away. Or some people have actually burned those. So feel that all your worries and doubts are also being thrown away or discarded too. And then you can just shrug your shoulders and say, oh, okay, That's the worst that can happen. That ain't so bad. So crumple it up, throw it away. Along with that is a almost a maxim that has become a cliche, and that is pressure is only as great as you allow it to be. Pressure is a good thing. As Billie Jean King said, it's the privilege of pressure. But in terms of destructive pressure, it's only as big as you allow it to be. You are still in control. Here's one thing they said. Listen to what needs to be done during the performances. Trust your intuitions or your instincts. They are always right. Even if you don't know why, immediately act on these intuitions or instincts. They are always right. Think about this. How often have you been driving your car and have the intuition that you need to stay in the same lane for some reason, or you need to slow down for some reason, and then something down the road happens that proves it right? Your intuitions are always right. So immediately be aware of them and act on them. Realizing that if you can take your opponent's best shots, both literally and figuratively, is a huge advantage. Say to yourself, okay, I've braced myself, I've endured the best that they can give me. Some people even say to themselves, is that all you got? So part of surviving early parts of big performances is being strong enough to have that stuff bounce off of you or deflected past you. A lot of times that's energy in its own game. Remember what we've said early on in the 100 level series, that the big performances, particularly in big performances, your B game or B plus game will usually be good enough. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be without any kind of mistakes. There is no such thing, particularly in big performances. And remember, the rare A game emerges from a base, from a start of a B game. Even if an A game doesn't emerge, a solidly consistent B game, whatever that means to you, or a B plus game is good enough to win most performances. In volume 9 of this, which was in 2016, we had a whole volume on transforming pressure. That is the information I talked about in volumes 212, 213, and 214, that 3-part series of understanding pressure, what it is not, how to channel it, how to transform it. So I won't talk to you about those specifics here. Go back to volumes 212, 213, 214. And some people tell me that even though they've known that stuff, every once in a while, they go back to some of those initial handouts I gave them about pressure, the notes they took on pressure, just to remind themselves of those little things. In volume 10 of How to Win, we did another twist. And this was a class of about 33 people that time. And what we did is we had people break up into like-minded groups, whether it was parents and coaches, whether it was individual athletes, team athletes, performing artists, and they all said some specific things, and with under the heading of what they learned in their interest group from the other interest groups. Okay, here's what performing artists learned: that there is a game within a game. Be aware and pay attention to these little games. They said confidence is earned. Confidence is security. Confidence is comforting, and it is an earned confidence. They said yoga, systematic relaxing, and breathing ground performances. They center your performances. They said one thing, and a lot of them thought, oh yeah, that's what I remembered I needed to do. And that is this: be easier on yourself. Forgive yourself, like yourself, even in the midst of adversity. You are doing the best you can at that moment. Along with that, accept yourself in the situations. Accept as opposed to expect. Composure is not an innate quality. Composure is learned. So look at the components of your composure. Being classy to yourself, to others, be calm, cool, collected, be clear and committed in your decisions. All of this leads to composure. They said this, it was just marvelous. They said, the performing artist said, you were born to be in these big moments. You've earned the right. That is your destiny, to be in these big moments. Wonderful. We also had the athletes learn from others, and they were much more than dumb jocks. They were committed athletes as opposed to jocks. And that is the first one they came up with. The more one improves physically and mechanically, the more important the mental game becomes. Okay. There are different types of dynamics to concentration. Master each of the 6, the 3 components and the 3 dynamics of it. Concentration then is a learned activity. There are multiple ways of becoming and staying motivated. Tap into them. Mostly what's called, the psychologists call the intrinsic motivation, what means something to you. Find out many ways to become and remain intrinsically motivated. They said you don't have to outperform others. When you're tempted to outperform the others, you are outside of your comfort zone. You are outside of actually working against yourself. The antidote to that is stay within yourself. Do the things you can do right here and right now. And part of that, they said, live in the moment. That's all we have. Whitney Houston had a wonderful song called One Moment in Time. Be in that one moment. Here's the final volume we had at the end of the series of courses we had over the years was from 2018. And I wanted the students, remember, each of the students taking that had a series of the previous volumes of How to Win. So they looked at all of those and then they based their suggestions on what was not addressed or covered in the previous volumes. And I said, okay, this was the last time we're teaching this course, and that I wanted them to do some reflecting on the previous 10 volumes and what were their biggest takeaways. And here's what they mentioned. They said it is all about character, doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, and for the right reasons, even if no one notices. Do the right thing. Stay true to yourself, they said. Play your own game and play to your strengths. That is easy. We've talked about it as a theme, but part of that is looking at the bigger picture. Stay true to yourself. You are the performer. Be aware of the big picture and then pay attention to the details. As you attend to the little things, remind yourself that they combine to be big things. Out west, we have an old cowboy phrase that says, don't squat with your spurs on. That means be aware of your surroundings. Okay. Along with that, you call the shots. It is your life and your destiny. Step up, as baseball players say, step up to the plate. Be ready. Be eager to perform. Part of that is also, they said, find your path to performing, your path to success, your path to winning, and honor that. Stick with it. They said this, a strong work ethic in their performance area leads to a strong life ethic. They go hand in hand. Oh, here's one. They said, passion leads to compassion. Be kind to others. And it starts out with being kind to yourself. That passion, that energy, that dedication and commitment leads to compassion. And in positive psychology movements, the research is starting to say that compassion is one of the most advanced qualities one could possess in your lifetime. Okay. They also said, love the struggle. There are always adjustments to make, but part of being in the present, saying that I am struggling with that, and learn how to endure, learn how to revel in the uncertainty of the outcome of the situations, and use that as a catalyst to accept yourself and to spur yourself on. Those are the major general takeaways of this 11-volume series of How to Win. It's much more than winning. It is succeeding, maximizing yourself, being the you would like to be and performing at your best. As a summary of these last 3 sessions, I'm not much of a cook, but I came up for a recipe for performance success, just as cooking a meal. Here are the ingredients in our recipe. 2 parts preparation, mental and physical, emotional, spiritual, and mechanical and tactical. The next ingredient is 1 part remembering what you can control and what you cannot control. Our next ingredient, 2 parts appropriate and attainable goals. Our next ingredient is 1 part building on little successes. There are little games within the game. Next ingredient, 1 part starting off well, whatever that means to you, starting off well. And even if that means allowing yourself to settle into the performance, that is starting off well. Next ingredient is 1 part of gutting it out when behind. Can you dig deep and start gutting it out and hanging in there? Another ingredient is repeated applications of a doggedly positive mental attitude. Not just when things are going well, but doggedly positive. Next ingredient, don't spill mistakes, both mental and tactical, into the mix. Learn how to purely do. And with that, an ingredient is immerse yourself into the mix of pure execution. And our final ingredient is learn how to finish it off, how to close it, how to wrap it up. Then in our recipe, stir and blend with the situations, put into the pressure cooker of competition, enjoy the process of cooking, and continually improve your own recipe. As I said in volume 217, when we started talking about generalized perspectives of success and winning, you have your own formula. So now that we've gone through that 2014 and now 217, 218, 219, and now this is volume 220, is that go back and start looking at your formula for success, for winning. And it's not so much being bound to it, but just honoring it, knowing that your formula with success, like any kind of cooking recipe, will keep on growing and being refining. Along the way, enjoy the process and even cherishing the process of what you're doing. You are maximizing a rare gift you have at this point in your lives, and enjoying the process and learning how to become a master in various elements of it, you will always take pride in for the rest of your lives. Okay. Go back when you need to and replay these last 4 videos of the outcomes and find out your own formula. This is Tom Kubistant, and I will see you for our next and final video session. Thank you.